The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise, do not be afraid." When the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. And as they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, "Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The Gospel of the Lord. Very early in Jesus' public ministry, in the Gospel of John, we have the scene of John the Baptist, first baptizing Jesus, and then a little while later he notices Jesus walking by as he is continuing to baptize, and John stops everything, points out his hand towards Jesus with the words, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." Behold. In the Scriptures, to behold is a very important kind of concept or idea. It usually denotes seeing another person suddenly, perhaps someone we've known for a long time, but seeing some other person in a new light, in a new way. Or sometimes seeing ourselves in a new way. And in that passage from John, the Baptist continues at length saying, "I did not know him, I did not know him, but he's the one of whom I was told he is to come after me." John goes on, and then he ends with the beautiful words, "And I have seen and I have testified that he is the Son of God." That's what the behold moment is all about. Because even though John says twice he didn't know him, of course he knew Jesus. They were cousins. Mary and Elizabeth were cousins. And no doubt whenever the Holy Family went up to Jerusalem for the high feast, they probably stayed with Zechariah and Elizabeth as Zechariah offered his ministry in the temple. And who knows, I like to think, being kind of devilish that I am, that as little kids, John was a little older, 6 months, perhaps a little bigger. Maybe he beat up on Jesus as they were playing together as kids. But the fact of the matter is that here's someone John knew very well, and suddenly beholds and sees him in a new light, and sees that he is the Lamb of God and the Son of God. In the Gospel today, on the story of the Transfiguration, we don't see the word, but we have the same kind of an event for Peter, James, and John. A behold moment in which they get to glimpse and see Jesus in a new way, in a new light. He is not just the itinerant preacher they have joined themselves to. He's not just a miracle worker, but as they come to see with the voice from heaven, "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." So Peter and James and John have their own behold moment, a chime to see Jesus in a new light. Sometimes it's seeing ourselves in a new light. Just as John the Baptist, as he saw Jesus and pointed out Jesus, suddenly understood that John too had to change. He had to decrease as Jesus increased. And in the Annunciation story, at the words of Gabriel, Mary sees herself in a new light. "Behold, the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done unto me according to your will," even though she didn't fully understand exactly what was going on. So behold moments are very, very important. And I think we need more of them in our lives. We always have them. We often have those behold moments in the sacraments of nature, seeing the beauty of God and the power of God in creation, a beautiful sunset, a walk by the lake, a walk in the woods. But I think what is more important or most important is for us to have behold moments about people in our own lives. Because too often as we grow up, or too often as we work with people, we find little convenient slots and niches to put them into, right? We get to know somebody and then we know where to put them and then we feel comfortable. But sometimes they get stuck there and it's very unfair. I was the fourth of 5 children growing up, and I know how much it frustrated me to say, "Oh, you're Vinny or Jackie or Janie's younger brother," blah, 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 on and on. I kept like saying, no, I'm me. I have my own identity. I'm not just Vinny, Jackie, Jane, Betty Ann, brother, but I'm me. And I think we have to learn to do that more importantly and more frequently with other people. The people in our lives that we put in convenient slots, family members, friends, co-workers, and even enemies. A few weeks ago, the gospel spoke about learning to love our enemies. And that means really giving God's grace time to work in them, if possible, and to be alert to that ourselves. And when we see that change, to behold that person in a new light, in a new way, and perhaps move ourselves towards reconciliation. Because it is part of our faith that God's grace has the power to change people's lives. And we must be prepared to recognize that change, that grace, in the people that we have put into slots or niches. Begin to behold them, to see them in a new way. Just as John the Baptist, and then in the Transfiguration story today, Peter, James, and John came to see Jesus in a new way in their behold moments. So too we are challenged, especially this Lenten season, to see others as God sees them, to see others as deserving of God's love and support. And this is especially true today, when many peoples, religions, others are being put into convenient slots, as is happening to refugees, to many Muslims, to many other minorities. That is not what our faith is all about. Our faith calls us to recognize and to love and understand all peoples, because we are all children of the same loving God.